All right, everyone, today we're going to talk about MTHFR, gene disorder mutation, whatever you want to call it. It is something that is quite talked about a lot on the internet. A lot of people are still struggling, and I feel like a lot of people don't have an answer to help them create some normalcy as they move through this journey. But before we get into this, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification button so you get a notification every time we release a video every week. So where do we start? Well, 10, 15 years ago, working in this industry, we never really heard of this. We've been doing this for 20 years. It was something that wasn't really around. So where is it coming from? We really have to ask ourselves that. Where is this coming from? And why all of a sudden is everyone struggling with MTHFR? And the solution is really simple, right? You take B vitamins, you take folate, you're good. See you later. It doesn't really work like that. And a lot of you that are listening, that are struggling, it doesn't work like that. And if it does work like that, it's keeping you here and not allowing you to evolve, right? It's that simple. So I think we have to remember that genetics loads the gun, and in how we live and how we eat and how we breathe, our environment pulls the trigger, right? So just because we are brought into this world with trauma, just because we are brought into this world under stress, maybe we've had a traumatic birth, or maybe we come from past generations that are just not that healthy, doesn't mean we have to sit there and say, well, because my parents had high cholesterol, I'm going to have high cholesterol. Because if my parents had this, I'm going to have that. Remember, genetics loads the gun and environment pulls the trigger. So we can change that, right? Disease will only flourish when it's given the opportunity to. So really what that tells us is if we live in a way and we eat in a way and we breathe in a way and we think in a way, right? We create healthy habits and we do these things every day, not chase, not OCD, but if we do this in a way to create health, guess what? Health will flourish. Might not happen in a month, might not happen in a year, but if we keep doing this consistently and we find that balance point, health will flourish. Just the opposite. If we eat in a way, live in a way, breathe in a way to create disease, and we chase, guess what? Disease will flourish. It is that simple. And unfortunately, we're being led to believe that because we have this mutation, right, this inactivation, that all we have to do is take a supplement, we're going to get better. But what we don't realize is what got us to this point, right? What got us to this point was how these people ate, live, and breathe and think that created us. We have to change that. But what we're doing is saying, well, I'm just going to still live the same way. I'm still going to eat the same way. I'm still going to breathe the same way. And I'm just going to take a supplement and think that it's going to fix or regulate my mutation. It doesn't. We have to step outside that and say, a supplement alone or medication alone isn't going to heal me. I have to begin to change my thought process. How that is, it's obviously different for every person, but it's a generalization. We have to change how we think. We have to change how we breathe, right? We have to change how we eat, what we're eating, when we're eating, how we're eating to meet our metabolic needs. The list goes on, because when we do that, now we are rewriting the story. Now we're rewriting our own story, right? Now genetics loads the gun, but we're in charge now. We're going to pull the trigger to change that environment, to change the trajectory, to push us forward on that path versus stay right here for the rest of our life, right? So that's your pep talk for the day. Now, MTHFR. Of course, MTHFR is an enzyme that breaks down homocysteine, and along the way, there's a mutation that can affect how that happens, or it completely inactivate it. And of course, the recommendation, as I mentioned, is B vitamins, folate, things like that. Unfortunately, when we really look at human physiology, that's just a Band-Aid on a huge scab. It doesn't really fix it. Now, remember this, that the liver is not only a site of detoxification, right? That's a little bit of what it does. It does so much more. We got to give it more credit. But it's a site of energy storage. It's a storage of minerals that help with energy production. It's the site of thyroid hormone conversion, right? But the problem is when we live a life and we don't meet our metabolic needs, and we create these hypoglycemic reactions, and we create chronic stress because we're under eating, we're overworking, right? We're chronically stressed and living in fear because of A, B, C, and D. We don't want to eat a lot. We want to fast and go keto and low carb because we don't want to gain weight, right? But with these high stress jobs and we're going, that creates stress in the system. Remember, stress is when the demands being placed on the system exceed what the system can handle, right? That means we're creating debt. Well, Broda Barnes showed that when this happens, we create a sluggish liver. Well, if we create a sluggish liver, that means energy storage, energy production, thyroid hormone conversion, and mineral storage is going to go down. And this is a problem. On top of our soils being depleted, on top of people eating synthetic supplements that are chelating our minerals, on top of being chronically stressed, which chelates our minerals, on top of everything that's chelating our minerals, right? This is a problem. The supplements, the soil, the GMO foods, and the chronic stress, if I already said that, right? So on top of that, now we can't store the minerals, and this is a problem. Because as we've mentioned before in many Instagram posts and some YouTubes, is an important piece of this process in the liver when it comes to energy production and methylation is copper. The liver stores copper at birth. We use retinol to convert it into bioavailable copper, which is called ceruloplasmin. And this is important because if we have a sluggish liver and we can't convert thyroid hormone, which is an oxygen sensor to stimulate the liver to produce more ceruloplasmin, if we have a sluggish liver, we can't do that. If we have a sluggish liver, we can't store minerals. We can't produce energy. Now we're creating exhaust. Now we're creating an inflammatory environment, and now we're affecting methylation. Now remember this, that when it comes to methylation, it is a copper-driven process, right? There's different enzymes along the way within methylation that are copper dependent, just like iron recycling. You have to pay the bouncer to get in the door to allow things to keep going. And those enzymes are copper dependent. If you don't have those enzymes, or you can't activate those enzymes with bioavailable copper, which is ceruloplasmin, which B vitamins are dependent on. Remember, minerals create vitamins. B vitamins are dependent on ceruloplasmin, which is bioavailable copper. So we have to look at that in the recommendations these people are making. So this chronic stress, the sluggish liver, now we can't produce energy. Now we're creating more inflammation. We're creating more stress, right? Number two, now methylation is affected because copper is being chelated out of the body from the soil, synthetic supplements, and stress, right? Now, if we don't have that copper, we can't regulate methylation. So if we're chronically stressed, at the same time, to add to this fire, the liver produces a protein called metallothionein, which binds copper and chelates it out of the body. You chelate copper, B vitamins go down, methylation goes down, boom, MTHFR is right in front of you. It's the environment and what we're eating and what we're taking, what we're not eating and what we're taking that's perpetuating this, right? So what's the solution? Now, I'm not saying you do this, you're going to be better overnight. You do this, you're going to be fixed. But if you do this consistently over time, you will feel better. Of course, it's reducing stress in our life. It's noticing the things in our life that aren't working for us and that are working against us. Yes, some of us have things that are beyond our control, and we do have a stressful life. But the bottom line is we have to start making change to create the change. Number one. Number two, we have to build resiliency to the stress, and we do that with food. So using our RTN method to reduce the stress response in the system. Eating metabolic foods like fruits and roots and different types of squashes. Eating different types of proteins like broth and collagen. All different types of muscle meats like venison and buffalo and lamb and chicken and steak. Different types of dairy, fatty fish, whitefish, shellfish. All these foods that are going to give us the minerals, right, on top of the carbs to help us regulate that process, fix the sluggish liver, decrease the stress response. But it's a challenge because we have to really do this in a strategic way to meet our own metabolic needs. By just bringing in these foods, which are retinol rich, whole food C rich, and copper rich, will help to get you on the path for sure. So that's a huge piece. That food piece is the foundation. The reduction of the stress in your life or building resiliency to it, or saying to yourself, what else do I do beside work and focus on my kids? Ask yourself that question. Because if that's all you're doing, or all you're doing is focusing on your health, you have to say, What am I doing to build resiliency? What am I doing to build resources in my system to help me fight this? All I'm doing is focusing on nutrition. Well, that's not creating change. You haven't changed the environment. So think about that. And lastly, we have to eliminate the things that are going to chelate all these minerals from the body besides stress. And of course, that's taking calcium supplements, zinc supplements, taking vitamin D, which depletes liver retinol, which is going to deplete copper from the body because we can't convert it. GMO foods, which glyphosate chelates copper, high fructose corn syrup, a lot of anti-anxiety meds, a lot of cardiovascular meds, a lot of psychotropic meds. I'm not saying eliminate these, I'm just letting you know that a lot of these things affect copper metabolism. So anytime that happens, you're going to affect methylation. Remember, it's simple. Stress affects the liver, affects energy, thyroid hormone, and methylation. We chelate copper. We don't produce B vitamins. Methylation is inactivated. And here we have it, MTHFR. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more. I'm out. Peace.